Hey, Super Dupe.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Supa Cindy, Community Matters, and
Jill Tracey. Hot Talk with Jill Tracey. We are like doing a duo. I don't know if they'll be able to take this today.
I don't know if they can take this, but the amount of women...
Black girl magic in this room
exactly.
right now.
I'm trying to find like the words, but
yes, Jesus.
We are like in the room. We are here, and it is absolutely amazing. Would you like to introduce our guests?
I most certainly would. We have the pleasure to be in the presence of two of our sisters who really are the sum total of who every woman hopes to be.
That was good, Jill.
You all have both. Lord, don't get me to crying this early. You all really have both seen parts of life that we hope to never see and come out of it graciously and willing to bear your hurt and your pain and your scars to help others. And that is noble.
You
So
have
I'm
the
gonna say-
listeners very like, who is in there with them? What is going on?
In the room with us today, as our sister here in Miami, Miss Sybrina Fulton.
Yes.
And Sybrina came by the station to do something entirely different. We snatched her up in the room. She walked in the room, and then she saw our dear sister, Andrea Kelly. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And it was a word and a moment, and we said we need to go take this to the studio.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Thank you both for being here. So, Sybrina, when you walked in, you were like, she was just doing, all her haze, and then she saw Andrea and stopped. And it was a moment for you.
It definitely was a moment for me because I watched the documentary Surviving R.KELLY, and the young women that I did see on the documentary survived, and that meant a lot to me. I talk about this subject like every day since I've watched the documentary, not only with other women, but with men too, because I want to get into their heads and see what they're thinking. And some of them have their heads on straight and some of them don't,
Yeah.
And I've started talking to a lot of young girls about the documentary. Some of them have seen the documentary, some of them have not. But it's very emotional for me. I did not experience what you experienced. I experienced a different type of hurt. Mm-hmm. But it's something, nevertheless, that you're going to have to go through the rest of your life. You're going to have to live with that experience that you went through the rest of your life, just as I am. And I know your heart is burdened.
Yeah.
And it needs healing, and just know that you have people that stand with you and support you and just want to just lift you up. Mm-hmm. And so I just want you to know that I am here for you.
Well, likewise, Trayvon, my son is my world. That little boy is my world. So I'm going to try to get through this. Just when you're a mother of one, you're a mother of all. So it felt like losing my son. And that's a pain. Your strength, I don't know if I could be you. And I look up to you. And it allows me to stand in this position and fight, like I said, because when you're a mother of one, you're a mother of all. So that's my son. Those are my daughters. And it puts you in a position of, I wouldn't wish that pain on anybody. But the flip side is, God, I'm glad you chose my sister for it, because it had to be one who you knew would survive it. You keep his legacy alive. You keep mother's hope alive. You keep that mother's heart beating. You allow her to never lose his smell. You allow mothers to not forget how he walks. You allow mothers to remember what his smile is like. And you remember he's mine, even though I didn't birth him.
That's right.
He's a little brown boy. He's mine.
That's right.
And I know you feel the same about those girls.
That's right.
And everything is orchestrated by God. It was no chance. I could have been late. My plane could have been early. You could have made a left instead of a right. Mm-hmm. But God said this moment was meant for a time such as this, because we have a generation with no foundation. We are the last big mamas on earth, and it's sad. There's nobody who cares about our youth to love them enough to say protect them at all costs, even if it means my life.
Right.
And
At
I honor
all
you.
costs.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that was so moving about Sybrina's life and this experience, and how the world has embraced Sybrina and Trayvon, because there was a level of authenticity that and an ability for you to bear witness to what happened to you and share it clean with the world. Like, I'm standing in this, but you need to know that my soul is in pain.
That's right.
And that connects to everybody.
That's right.
And I know that is what everybody embraced Trayvon's passing, because they stood together in a place that was remarkable, I would just say, as a family. And it left America and the world with a totally different view. You would agree. Everybody in this room would agree.
I was just going to say that it wasn't an issue that happened in the United States. It touched around
the world. Yes.
Because you were there and you stood it and you let the world see your pain, but you still stood through, and all of that would have broken a mini. That was where I think Black Girl Magic came from. I think that's really where that came from, because there is, and I think that you both would agree that there is a certain magic to being a Black woman.
Yes.
Because we are there was a study done, the Women's Health Initiative, right? Mm-hmm. The average Black woman walks around with the stress level of a white woman in a mental institution. That is the average Black woman.
Keyword being average.
Right.
Yeah. So don't add any tragedy to it, and then add public tragedy. So there's one thing when there's tragedy and no one knows. Mm-hmm. It's another thing when there's public tragedy and everyone's watching. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother level of stress I wouldn't wish on anybody.
Because that's something that, like, right now what you're saying resonates. Because me being a public figure in South Florida, at times I'm going through a lot of personal things and I can't show it, especially because my name is Supa Cindy, unfortunately.
Right.
And just the fact that you're walking around and a person in a grocery store comes up to you when you're like crumbling inside and trying to figure out how to make it through the next day. Yeah. And then you just said on another level, the entire world knows. Yeah. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a big responsibility too. Mm-hmm. When it's at that level, because I understand, as much as I want to cry and crumble, I know that my smile may keep her going. So that is a responsibility that even I have to stay focused on God's plan and purpose and why he chose me for it, because there might be somebody on the other side. Like when I was sitting on a balcony contemplating suicide, they may have jumped. Mm-hmm. Drea, even though you don't want to smile, it may be your smile today that allows her to go, I won't go home and take those pills. Find a reason to smile. And your smile might not even be for you. It might be for that person.
And, you know, this is just kismet, because exactly what you said, I have felt so many times about Sybrina.
Yeah. Her strength.
Wow.
Her strength.
I just, like, people always ask me, like, to talk about if I feel differently, if I've changed any. And I personally don't feel any change. I don't feel any different,
Because you aren't. But we've never seen that.
One time I interviewed you, Sybrina, and you spoke about, because people look at you as a superwoman all the time, as their strength, and that you were saying there's times that I do not want to get out of bed and I stay in my bed a couple of days. Like, you have your moments.
I do. I still cry about my son. I still cry about the whole situation. It's like, I can honestly say most of my days are good days, but I still have bad days. And a lot of times on my bad days, I have to stay home because if I go to the mall, somebody is going to come up to me and tell me about Trayvon. If I go to the beauty salon or get my nails done, somebody is going to tell me about my son, and I think that's the last person that they have to tell me about, because he's in my heart. I'm reminded of him forever. I have another son, Javaris, and I often think about him, but I want him to live, a good life. I want him to be happy and healthy, and I want him to do the things that he that makes him happy and things that he enjoys. But by the same token, I'm like nervous and edgy about not only my son, but other kids and other young people. And so when I watched the documentary, it touched me. It touched me. And I'm like, I'm here and it hasn't happened to me. But I'm looking at somebody that they're telling their story about what happened. And it's so captivating to learn. You hear it from the horse's mouth. It's one thing for somebody to say, okay, I have this video. It's another one when you hearing it from people who have experienced such tragedy. And at the young age is what gets me, the young age, children. And so the one thing that I think about when I always talk about this, and I talk about it every day, I told you, but the one thing I always talk about that it's always some good in something. And I feel like the good in this, or the good that will come from this, is the conversations. Yes. The conversations about awareness, the conversations about self-esteem. We need to teach our young girls to be proud of who you are, and for them to have more self-esteem and more self-value, for them to value themselves as worthy. You know, and I think a lot of times when adult men take advantage of young girls, it's because our young girls don't value themselves as being, I'm worth more than somebody giving me a few materialistic items and for me to follow them. I know nobody was held against their will that I, remember watching, but you didn't even know you was being held against your will. You didn't even know, because you were on one level at 19 and somebody else is on another level at 20-something years old. You don't even know the set of thinking. And I think about that all the time when I think about my son, who was 17 years old, against a 28-year-old man. My son was unarmed. So you can look at these young ladies as being unarmed against somebody who is armed. Like, it's no competition. It's no comparison. And we just have to look at these young people. They were children. They were children. I think I would feel differently had they all been adult women and made an adult decision. But because they were children, we as society should have protected them. The parents should have protected them. The managers on R.KELLY's side should have protected them. And it hurts my heart to just think about they were not protected. Yeah. Think about babies that are not being protected. I can't get past it. And I argue about it every day. I know people probably think I'm just losing my mind because I think about it every day. But I just feel like it's a teachable moment. Let's get into our schools and our mentoring programs and let's work with these young girls.
And let's get into our girls. Because I think that, it's no secret that because they were black girls, the reaction time was
we're lowest on the totem pole. Yes. If her name was Hannah from Oklahoma, one time. Right. Let's be very clear about that. It would have been one time in 20 minutes, not 30 girls in 20 years. Right. Let's be very clear about that. And America needs to be honest with that. Yeah. Because that is how we set up for prevention. If we're very clear of what we let get, that was a fire that we have now let become a forest fire because you didn't care enough to put it out. And that's not even to say that it was our community who didn't care, because amongst our community, everyone did talk about it. Everyone was concerned. So it wasn't amongst our community. It's the higher up. It's the people who hold positions of powers. It's when you're allowing judges to work for you. It's when you have police officers off duty and on duty working for you. It's when people turn a blind eye. I don't care if it's from road manager to whoever hung up posters. At the end of the day, that's where it became the forest fire. And it's sad. And
we there's been so much analysis. But one of the great things that I've discussed on one of the mini shows is that it is baked into the cake that most artists, their first fans are young girls. And if you start to go through catalogs, from BBD to Jerry Lee Lewis to there's always she was only 16, backstage, underage. It's there. So when it happens, now we have to not be shocked. We live in a patriarchal society, so, but Me Too and these experiences are changing things. And I wonder how you feel about that. A lot of this was allowed to go on because he was famous, because everybody wanted. To this day, there was a video just recently of girls grabbing, abduct me. He was at something for his birthday or something, right? So there is a fame and power and money rule everything. What would be your suggestion, your advice to, I have to bring them in the conversation because the city girls right now are very popular. And their conversation is, I'm in control now because I'm selling it to him, basically. I'm putting a price on it. And if he pays that price, where the bag at, you can get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's low self-esteem, first of all. But let me back up. I would like to say this. The problem is society wants to turn a blind eye because they don't want to take responsibility for our love of fame and celebrity. They have to understand that these artists, even from Robert on, there's two people you're dealing with. There's the persona, who is R. Kelly.
Right.
There is Robert, the person. People don't want to believe that this celebrity persona has the ability to be this monster, but they keep forgetting that persona comes from what? A person. Mm-hmm. So that person in that monster is what has to be separated and understood where that comes from. But we fall in love with what we see, what we perceive, and what we want it to be, that we don't want to accept reality of what it is. And I think that that's the first step of knowing that these celebrities are not beyond human. They're not beyond being monsters. They're not beyond breaking the law. They're not beyond cheating on their wives. They're
Right.
not beyond not paying taxes. I mean, we have a president who said grab them by the you-know-what,
Right.
and he's still sitting in office. And guess what? No problem with it.
Yeah.
At
Because
the end of the
we
day,
talk out of both sides of our mouths when it comes to sex and gender.
we do.
And who is responsible.
We do.
Now, you came to the experience with R. Kelly on almost a peer level because you were an accomplished dancer.
Yes.
You came to him, to that experience, because she's the baddest right now. We need her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How, once you got in the cypher, what was your red flag?
Again, I always say people are a tree. There wasn't a red flag for me because it was common and normal to me. The first time I ever saw a man abuse a woman was my grandfather, and he was a Baptist preacher. And I say it wasn't so much what my grandfather did that changed me, it's what my grandmother didn't do. She got up the next day and made that man breakfast like nothing ever happened. So again, the fruit on my tree is Robert. The root of my tree is my grandfather. So for him to be abusive, that was not foreign to me. That was not something that I would go, oh, where did this come from? I'm like, oh, okay, well, if a man of the cloth will do it, a man of the world's definitely going to do it. At a very young age, God, love, and pain were one for me, which is very common in the black community.
I was going to say, because we just did a show on Church Hurt.
Yes,
about
very common in the black community. So again, when you get into these situations, I think the way we take our power back, the way we empower young girls is get to the root of their tree. It may not have been a husband. It may have been an uncle. It could have been a gym teacher. It could have been a boyfriend that you see that came over and abused my aunt when he got drunk on the weekends. Stop telling little girls, you fast. Why you got them shorts on when Uncle Johnny comes around? No, don't allow Uncle Johnny to come to the barbecue.
Period.
Do not re-victimize her and make her feel like her sexuality, which is her God-given right, that now she has to feel is toxic because of a toxic person. That doesn't help our little girls at all. I think that we need to start, like you said, with their self-esteem and knowing I had a point of reference, which I think allowed me not to stay with Robert any longer. My father was present. I think a lot of people have it twisted in the Black community. Just because the father is not in the house does not mean he's not present. Because it's a lot of fathers that live right there in that house and are not present. They're alcoholics. They work. They don't pay attention. They don't even know what's going on in their house. So it doesn't mean you're present because you live there. Okay. My father didn't live there, but he was very present. My uncles were present. Play brothers present. So I did have a point of reference when I did get to that place of understanding what I'm in, and I'm very clear. You have to have clarity. You have to know what you're in order to know what you're getting out of. I had to come to the realization that, wait, this is abusive. If you were to ask an average 15-year-old girl right now, what's the difference between control and concern? She's not going to know the difference. Why? As a little girl, what's the first thing we teach them? Little Johnny pulled your hair because he likes you. He picks on you because he likes you. Okay? Right. As you become a young woman in our community, get you a good man who works, pays all the bills. So now I'm with a controlling man who works and pays all the bills, doesn't want me to work, and in control of all the finances. In my mind, he's a good man. He's the knight in shining armor. Little do I know, he's here to destroy me. Why? Because I've been told, again, control. A man don't want no woman out showing everything. So now I'm with an abusive man who tells me what to wear, how to wear, and when to wear. I'm thinking you're a good man because that's what I've been told since a little girl, that's what a man don't want.
Let me ask you something. How much effect do you think that the Me Too and the, what was the other one? The Time's Up movements, they're like becoming like so much into the news and girl power and everything. How much effect do you think that has on women speaking out now? Like, because they held in for so long. Like, your story is a story that's over 10 years old about?
Oh, over 15, yes.
And so why is it now that the story is coming out now as far as speaking up and everything?
Well, for me, I wanted to bring validity to the women's stories because it was crazy to me that I've been gone 15 years and then here comes somebody else with a story identical to mine. And we don't know each other, and people were not paying attention. They were not listening. No. Wow. And I got to a point where I was tired of it falling on deaf ears. So I felt, at least if I come forward, I am telling you from a place of authenticity. I was married to the man. I had children with the man. I gained nothing out of this. I moved on with my life. No one is going to willingly put themselves in a line of fire, but I felt like I had to, because if you're not going to listen to them, please at least listen to the woman that had children with him, and it still fell on deaf ears. Again, we're women of color in America. Whole nother subject. Me Too movement, mute R.KELLY, Time Up. These things are great, but don't support black women because we're trending.
Right. We got a good hashtag.
Support us. Period. Out the gate. We should not have to be trending. Yeah. At the end of the day, whether this was about R.KELLY or not, we know about young girls in the black community being taken advantage of and nobody came forward. But because it's trending and you get likes and followers, now all of a sudden you want to come forward and speak. At the end of the day, put your money where your mouth is. Yes, you want to help these victims and you want to speak out against my ex-husband, but are you making sure counseling is paid for 10 years, 5 years, 7 years, however long these women need to get better? Or am I just going to send out this tweet and hope you're okay? Because I don't need hopes, dreams, and wishes. I need action.
Right. Hello. I'm gonna be a Facebook prophet, and I'm gonna put this out there, and then poof, I've done my work.
Yes.
Now I can go about on the vibe. Yeah.
So that's why I don't really know if it's helping per se. I think that it's bringing attention, but I think it's bringing that temporary celebrity craze society that we live in until it's about Kim Kardashian having another baby.
Amen.
So one thing that I noticed in a lot of the, just in general in the media, they always seem to turn it on the victim.
Yes.
Why? Even like people in the court cases have the jurors don't believe the victim's testifying because I don't like what she had on or I don't like the way she looked. Like, why is it that it's always turned on the victim?
I think one of the reasons why people do that is to justify the tragedy that they put these people through. You know, it's easier for you to say, well, the person caused it on themselves. She came to my apartment at 2:00 in the morning. She had on a short skirt. She had been drinking all night. You know, it's easy to say those things to justify what they did. Nobody wants to say, yes, I did this. I'm a bad person. I caused this. You know, I was the person that did this to someone else. Nobody is not going to say that because it makes too much sense. They're going to say things to try to put it on the person. You got to put the blame on the other person to justify how they made that person feel.
Yeah, it's a lot of deflecting at the end of the day. That's really what it's all about. I wasn't prepared for the amount of victim shaming and victim blaming. When I came out, people said I didn't say anything because I got paid. Now I'm saying something because I want to get paid. But at the end of the day, what people don't realize, the very reason why I left, because you had enough money and you thought it would make me stay. And that's what they don't realize. There's no price tag on my soul.
Right. And that is his point of power. That
it's the money. It's the point of power. Yes.
And you said economic
abuse. Yes.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever heard it that way, but that is exactly what it is. So many women do not carry their own purse strings.
They do not.
And they're relying on that man to take care of them.
But it's set up that way to keep you dependent on them and to keep you in fear, especially when there's children involved. And I just sit in such a unique place because not only am I a victim and a survivor, I'm also the mother of his children. So I wear two hats. And he's still abusing me by not paying child support. When I came forward in June, that's the last time he paid child support. He cut me off as a way to abuse me, to let me know, don't bite the hand that feeds you. You know, a lot of people came against me. They were like, oh, well, you know, I saw a video where you were talking about his artistry. His artistry, my children are artistically inclined because it's in their DNA. That's their father. But at the end of the day, I don't care how much artistry you have. And I also don't care that you were abused and deal with illiteracy as a child. Because you were abused does not give you the pass to abuse. That's just the reality in it. And because I know how to separate the two, I don't understand why I am now being penalized because I speak on that.
Why do you think that he could not separate the two?
Because when you have a lot of people that you tell the sky is purple and they agree with you, you don't have to.
Well, yeah, and we would see that same trait in 45.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it is a constant in people in that space. Fame has a lot to do with it as well.
But you have enough yes men to tell you and
justify.
And again, I said it in the documentary. At the end of the day, so much was going on, but I had to come to the realization this is why he can do it. He can't do all that by himself. It takes a team of people to facilitate. You can't be at the studio, be at home, be a dad, be on tour, and be playing basketball and at the airport checking people. Who are all of the people who are helping facilitate and keep this thing going? And I think that's the bigger picture. And I do understand that people are saying, you know, mute him. I get it because money is power and that helps to facilitate keeping people on your staff to do it. But at the end of the day, we also have to hold people accountable who were okay with being like, hey, this is just my job. All I do is get hotel rooms.
There was a point at which you really loved him.
Yes.
As your partner for life.
Yes.
How were you able to disconnect that? What was the moment that you were like, this is not worth the price of my soul?
It was my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter. And it's funny that we are in Florida, in Miami. And I took them to Parrot Jungle Island and we were looking at some photos. And back then, you know, it photobomb, and this is like back when you had to go take your like film to Wolf Cam, Walgreens. Like,
oh my God, Wolf, she went.
Yeah, and no edit on the phone. You had to go get it developed. So we're looking at pictures, and I'm happy. My daughter's sitting at the foot of the bed, and we're going through the pictures. And there was something about him when I knew it was about to happen. I say it almost like he would turn into a cobra. His arms, his shoulders would round up and his eyes would get very dilated. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, here we go. Something's about to happen. He looks at a picture. He goes, what the F is this? And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Because again, I hadn't seen the pictures. They're still in the envelope. Who the F is this in this picture? You know I don't play that S. Who the F is this man in this picture? I don't want no man around my wife. You should have eyes in the back of your head. And I'm thinking, well, nobody has eyes in the back of their head, first of all. But it was my daughter. And she looked up to him and she said, Daddy, why are you being mean to my mommy? Why are you talking to her like that? And instantly a light bulb went off.
Old.
Wow.
And I said to myself, now, if you stay and she ends up with a man just like this, Dren, you tell her to leave, she's going to say, Mommy, you're a hypocrite and a liar because you stayed with my daddy all those years. And I think the thing that was the nail in the coffin is I thought, Tria, what if she ends up with a man like that and he kills her and she ends up in a casket? And I just remember him talking. But in that moment, I'm thinking, get your bags, call your dad, get some money. Where you going? Take the kids, get your birth certificate. All this is going through my head because I knew in that moment, I have 2 daughters and a son. And if they end up with a man like him, or my son walks in one day and sees his dad beating me and he thinks this is how you treat a woman, right. Robert's not responsible, Drea. You are. Those are your babies.
Right, because your children, particularly your daughters, I'm an only child, and you are what they hope to be.
Yes.
So
not
if
what you
you
say,
were
it's what you
strong
do.
enough to carry that burden for us, then I'm going to be strong enough to carry it for my kids, and we just keep continuing the pattern.
Yeah. And that moment for me, I think the deeper part and the part that just hurts me the most, I remember I was 6 years old when I saw my grandfather beat my grandmother. And I was like, Drea, don't be her why. I always teach my kids, be somebody's why not. Don't be somebody's why. I never want my kids to come back and say, Mom, why did you stay? Why did you let him do that? I always want them to be like, my mom, why not? Because my mama wasn't finna go for it.
She didn't play that.
My mama wasn't going to let us be the next generation.
Yeah.
And they gave me the strength to do it. And the irony in that is, even after all that happened, I still tried to commit suicide. Because then the shame sets in. And now you're thinking, how did I let it go on for so long?
Right.
Where did I get lost?
Right. How did I let that be okay for me?
How was this okay?
Because you're this beautiful, brilliant dancer.
Outspoken.
And
how?
And just by association, and having whatever and it's a Black woman thing. I have my own thing, that'll tear me down in the middle of the night. Like, how is this happening to me? How am I letting this man call me again after he took my car and wrecked it? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of those things. But there is a part of our DNA that is, we have to bear the burdens of everyone and everything. And I think that with Sybrina, with you, and there's so many women that are standing up. I don't know that Me Too
affected any.
I don't know that
I really feel like not
too
maybe
is
not
legitimate to our actual pain. I don't, because I don't feel like, even with it, I don't feel like Me Too. You're not going to look at me the same way you look. Megyn Kelly got what, $12, $15 million? Because she said something derogatory and hateful on television. Guaranteed, if you or I said something that hateful, we would have been fired. We'd have been fired.
But as Black women,
never work again.
As Black women, ours is twofold. We have the pain of the community and the pain of the world.
Amen.
But I think that Me Too started as a thing in the workplace, but it has evolved to something else. Because I think in our world, we've taken it, or whoever uses it now is not only using it in the workplace. Because us as women, we deal with that all day, every day, everywhere. It doesn't have to be like at your job or whatever. Like, we deal with things like that, disrespect, abuse, physically, mentally, in different aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of those hashtags are creating is the strength to know that she went through a tragic experience and she's still standing. She still has her right mind. She's still able to raise her children. She's still capable of loving. A lot of and she walked away from it. She walked away from somebody that was wealthy. She walked away from somebody that was a celebrity, that was a star. Just imagine these young girls are with somebody and they don't have all of those things. You know how hard it is for them to walk away. But you're setting an example for a lot of women, even that you don't know that you have touched. And a lot of times people don't even think about their own experience until they see somebody else overcome something that they've gone through. And so I just commend you for just speaking out and being able to tell your story and being able to say, I'm a survivor. Because you got a lot of people that's still in that situation.
Yeah.
And maybe it's something that you said. Maybe it's your smile, like you said. Maybe it's your conversation. Maybe it's something that they saw in the documentary that make them want to walk away.
Yeah.
And stand up for themselves, because you had to stand up for yourself with 3 children.
Yes. That was the scariest thing I have ever done in my life. And I remember driving out of that gate the day that I left. And the only thing that was in my head, I was like, you know what, God, if this is my last day and he was to kill all of us, I would be okay, because I know I died leaving. I didn't die while I stayed.
Jesus.
And I was okay.
Wow.
I was okay.
Andrea, I wanted to ask you, like, a lot of our listeners, like Sybrina just said, are going through this, and no one might not even know that they're going through abuse at home, physically, mentally. What do you think are, personally, because I heard that people had said you got real quiet, stopped talking when you were an outgoing person. What are maybe some of the signs that, like, if we, know someone or whatever and they haven't told us, but could possibly be a sign?
Somebody that was an extrovert that suddenly becomes an introvert, and you're like, hold on, they usually come out and talk and bubbly. Why are they so quiet all of a sudden? Look at the way they dress. That is a telltale sign. Typically, abusers, they tell you how to wear your hair.
Yeah.
If you can or cannot wear makeup, to start wearing baggy clothes. If you used to wear form-fitting clothes because they want to control, they don't want anybody seeing your body shape. It's the simple things that we would just look right past and be like, oh, she didn't even get dressed up today. Or she ain't really been herself this past month.
And I think some women, particularly insecure women, will go, well, oh, he really loved me because he really could.
You don't want nobody else.
He want
But
me to,
again,
I mean,
that's what I say.
I've seen that.
We don't know the difference, even as grown women, between concern and control.
Yep.
It looks the same. And when that narrative has been instilled in us as little girls, you become a young woman and a woman, you don't know the difference. You just don't. Because you're thinking, but that's what a good man, he doesn't want me showing a good man shouldn't want me to work. A good man is going to be, and I think the younger generation, I explained it to them best this way. There's a difference between your boyfriend saying, I'm calling to make sure you made it okay, than calling your phone every 5 minutes. Who are you with? Where are you? Let me hear their voices. Turn the picture phone around. That's not concern. That's control. Concern is, hey babe, just text me. Let me know you made it safe. Have a good time with your friends. You shouldn't have to give a list, a blood test, a urine sample, locations on your phone, social security numbers, and pictures. That is now control. But if you don't know the difference, in your mind, you are thinking, he loved me, he just want to make sure I'm safe because he don't want nothing to happen to me. You have no clue. You don't. But it starts, like I said, we have a generation with no foundation. There are no more aunties. There's no more big mamas. There's no more unks in the world. Okay, you got the mama, the granddaughter, and the baby in the club, VIP with backless cat suits on, twerking together.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no foundation. So who do they look to? We do. The self-esteem. It's the things that are perpetuated that we don't even realize when you watch a video. How many times, and if let's be honest, America, how many times have you seen a video with a Caucasian lead that the white male has to have 3 or 4 women in the bed? As a young black girl, I look at a video with these rappers and these R&B artists, and you are telling me at a young age, I'm half a woman. You got to have 2 of me to make 1 woman to lay in the bed. And I've made it if I got red bottoms, a boob job sitting in the front of your leased car.
Right.
It's the subliminal messages that we send to them. So then when the man with the money that comes along, that can get you the boob job, that can get you out of the hood, and we have to be careful in our community. Ain't no get us out the hood. Get yourself out the hood.
Right.
And we don't even realize that there's an undercurrent of pimping our young girls because we feel like if you get with the ball player, you're going to get us out the hood. You can get your mama a house. Your mama needs to get a house. Your brother needs to open up his business. Not me get with a ball player and then y'all expecting all of this to happen with me laying on my back.
Alone.
But we don't like to take responsibility for that. At the end of the day, we want to pass the buck and be like, I don't know how it happened. Yeah, you do. You sat back and watched it.
Yeah, because I think that, well, I know for sure that young ladies today, we did a forum just recently at Northwestern, 900 high school girls. And what you said about the phone, one of the speakers spoke to that specifically. And the room erupted. They all related to that. They all had a story about, he loved me, he down with me because I keep, what did she say to me? I stay loyal so he keeps me royal.
Yeah.
And I thought, my God, how they have become the antithesis of everything my mother told me not to be coming up. How did it happen? And I mean, do you feel should we feel some responsibility? Because this is happening on our watch. You know, that the girls right behind me, 13, 14, 15, don't feel that value that I have.
Because I think we have to take on what our big mamas took on. I wish you would tell me you're going to call the police on me and you going out of here on a stretcher. Because if I go to jail, it's because I knocked you out.
Right.
Not because I disciplined you, because I clean knocked you out.
Right.
We don't have that anymore. We're too, well, that's somebody else's child. Like I said, to me, mother to one, mother to all. We have to be able to let them know. At the end of the day, even if your mama don't have, if she not going to tell you, Miss Drea not going to play that. Mm-hmm. We don't have that in the world. And it's scary and it's sad because I think this generation, that's what they're longing for and looking to, but they just don't know where to find it. At the end of the day, nothing against strippers. Do what you got to do. That is your business. But it breaks my heart to hear little girls say, well, I want to be a stripper like Amber Rose because that's how Kanye found her.
Right.
Do you think rappers just wake up in the morning and go, well, let me go to the local strip club to find my wife? That's a 1 in a million. You don't want to be an entrepreneur. You don't want to start a business. You like at the end of the day, sweetheart, I don't know anywhere you can pay a mortgage with some red bottoms.
Right.
Nowhere. You're not going to take any Louis bag in and open a business. But we're teaching them to focus on the wrong things. And it is our responsibility to say, you know what? I really don't care about your mama being mad about me saying this. But I'd rather, I tell my kids at the end of the day, I'd rather issue an apology than to be speaking a eulogy.
Okay.
I would rather apologize to your mama because she was mad that I said it than to not say anything and then you raped, end up somewhere dead. And I was like, well, I used to see you on the corner, but you know, that ain't my child.
Wasn't my business. I ain't
my
really had
business.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
You know, and go ahead.
I was going to say, so you said that one of the hardest, most difficult nights of your life was the night that you left. And I read that there's like things that you should take when you leave. Like there's things that on this list that I read, it was a list of things that if you only have 5 minutes to grab and go, the things you need to grab. And then there was a list that if you have more time, get these things if you're preparing for a few months, weeks or whatever to leave. As you left quickly, correct?
Yes, I did.
And then you realize, damn, I don't have this paper. What do you suggest women or men that are grabbing and going with kids or by themselves? What are some of the things that they definitely need to have?
Oh, goodness. An ID, birth certificate. Make sure that you have either, if you don't have a place to stay, make sure you have money saved up. People don't realize, like they tell women to go, where am I going? I don't have first, last security month deposit for an apartment. Where am I going? I'm not even on the bank accounts. That's where the financial and economic abuse comes in. If I take my children to even put them in school, I don't have their birth certificates. I don't even have my own birth certificate. I don't have an ID. I can't even get a new ID unless I have my social security cards and birth certificates. So yeah, you're running. Where am I running to? So I'm just out here with the wolves. I am not equipped to even start my life over. I think that is important. You have to have immunization records for your children. Even if you get away, when I take them to school, they're going to want to know, well, have they had their shots?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that. 9 times out of 10, you end up back with the abuser. Why? Because you're willing to suffice yourself in your life for their protection. At least they have a roof over their head.